At 7:14 in the morning, Vorkuta is still mostly dark. In the kitchen window, the apartment appears more clearly than the street. One yellow bulb hangs above the table. A kettle has softened the lower glass. Beyond it, the courtyard is only a dark blue shape, with streetlights standing in the snow like small fixed moons. Marina is 52. She runs a small grocery shop on the ground floor of a concrete apartment block, close enough to the bus route that people can reach it with their heads down when the wind is bad. This is not an important morning in any official sense. No one will write it down. No one will photograph Marina putting water on for tea or standing on the linoleum in 2 pairs of socks. But most history is made of mornings like this. It is made of rooms kept warm enough, pipes that hold, bread that arrives, and a shop door that opens when people expect it to open. Outside, snow moves sideways across the parked cars. It lifts from the road, crosses the courtyard, gathers in the doorway, and then lifts again. Marina does not look out to decide what kind of day it is. In January, there are only degrees of the same answer. The first task is clothing. Thermal shirt, sweater, wool scarf, padded trousers, coat, hat, hood, thin gloves for keys, then thick mittens over them. This is not dramatic clothing. It is not mountain clothing. It is the ordinary equipment of a place where a bad zipper, a wet cuff, or the wrong pocket can make the whole day harder. She dresses slowly because the order matters. If the scarf sits badly, the wind finds the neck. If the mittens go on too early, the keys become clumsy. No one teaches these rules as rules. They pass from body to body, from winter to winter. On the table, breakfast is small. Black tea in a glass. A slice of yesterday's bread. Butter cut so thin it almost bends on the knife. A spoon in the saucer with a dark line of tea along its edge. The radio is on very low. Not for music exactly, but for another human voice in the room. The announcer mentions roads, a school schedule, a boiler repair, and weather that everyone already knows. Marina wraps both hands around the tea glass before drinking. First the fingers, then the mouth, then the slow heat going down. In a mining city, warmth is never only comfort. It is work continuing somewhere out of sight. A boiler room, a pipe, a schedule, a repairman called before dawn. Vorkuta was built around coal, and coal has a way of entering even the quietest rooms. It is under the heat in the radiator, under the railway timetable, under the reason this city stands here at all. Marina has never worked underground. She knows the mines by what reaches the counter. Hands washed clean but still dark at the folds. Voices made rough by dust and cold. Tobacco bought after a shift because cigarettes do not go below. Older men used to say the first journey was the descent itself, the cage dropping through noise, helmet lamps making small circles on other faces. They told it lightly, as if describing a bus ride, because some things become bearable only after they are made ordinary. One man once joked that his lamp knew the tunnels better than he did. Marina remembers the joke because he bought 2 bars of soap with his cigarettes and said, smiling, that after a week of shifts he wanted to see his own hands again. She does not know whether that was the exact truth. In a shop, stories arrive already handled by many mouths, but the soap was real. The hands were real. That was enough. The kettle gives a small, tired click. Steam rises and gathers on the window. Behind the glass, the outside is not yet a view. It is a dark surface holding back the cold. There is a crumb beside the butter knife. Marina sees it and leaves it there. The shop opens at 9, but the work starts earlier than the sign. On a square of paper by the sugar tin, she has written the numbers from the night before. 2 crates of bread left. 4 cartons of milk. 1 tray of eggs, 3 cracked. 10 packs of cigarettes in the locked drawer. Almost no small change. Small change matters in winter. A customer who stands too long by the open door lets cold into the whole shop. A missing coin becomes part of the weather. There is also the delivery to think about. Bread first, if the driver can get through. Milk, sour cream, frozen dumplings, buckwheat, tea, batteries, matches, salt, cheap chocolate. These are not emergency supplies. They are ordinary things. That is why they matter. A city can be described by its mines, its railway, its apartment blocks, its distance from warmer places. It can also be described by what people buy before work. Bread, cigarettes, tea, batteries, chocolate. The railway matters even when no one mentions it. For northern towns, the line to the south is not an abstraction. It is bread flour, spare parts, medicine, fruit that arrives tired but still bright, and the ordinary promise that tomorrow's shelves will not be completely empty. When a train is late, the shop knows before the radio does. Flour becomes a question. Fresh fruit disappears first. People do not panic. They only ask more softly, as if a lower voice might leave a little more for the next person. Marina orders extra tea before payday. Old customers say people came north for wages and meant to leave after 10 winters. Some did. Some bought cupboards, raised children, learned the local wind, and became the kind of person who says south as if it were another season. Marina folds the paper once, then opens it again. Checking is part of the work. She finishes the tea, rinses the glass, and turns it upside down beside the sink. For a moment, she stands with one hand on the radiator. The metal ticks softly as heat moves through it. Somewhere in the building, the same sound answers from another room. Warmth is not background here. Warmth is planning. Pipes, schedules, doors that close quickly, and windows latched before leaving. Before leaving, Marina checks the kitchen in the same order as yesterday. Gas off. Window latched. Kettle away from the edge. Phone in the inner pocket. Keys in the right-hand coat pocket, never the left. She lifts a cloth shopping bag from the chair. Inside is a small lunch wrapped in paper. 2 boiled potatoes, a boiled egg, a little salt, and a piece of dark bread. From the bowl on the windowsill, she adds a mandarin. It is soft at one side, but still good. The bulb above the table flickers once, not enough to worry about. She turns it off anyway. The kitchen falls into the blue-black light from the window. Nothing in the room moves except the last thread of steam from the kettle. Then Marina opens the apartment door and steps into the stairwell. The stairwell smells of damp wool, old paint, and yesterday's soup. The light takes a second to come on. The walls are painted a tired green, worn shiny at shoulder height where coats, bags, shoulders, and boxes have brushed past for years. Someone has left a child's sled under the mailboxes. Someone else has taped cardboard over a cracked pane near the entrance. A pipe knocks once inside the wall and then settles. The building is awake in small signs. A television behind one door. Water inside a pipe. A latch clicking farther down. On the landing below, a pair of boots stands on newspaper. The snow on them has melted into dark outlines. By evening, the paper will be stiff and rippled. Near the stairs, scratches cross the paint at different heights. Children, furniture, bicycles, sacks of potatoes, maybe a refrigerator once. Everything that passes through a building leaves a small record. This is one way an apartment block keeps history. Paint rubbed thin by shoulders, railings polished by gloves, a landing where people pause before carrying something heavy down another flight. The blocks came after the mines, after the camps, after the first rough settlements around the coal. By the time Marina was a child, Much of that past had already hardened into ordinary walls, ordinary stairwells, ordinary addresses. Marina descends slowly, not because she is old, and not because she is afraid. She descends slowly because rushing on winter stairs is a way of arguing with the floor, and the floor usually wins. On the second-floor landing, she pauses to tighten her scarf. Below, the wind presses against the entrance doors. It comes through the building as pressure, the sound of air trying every crack. Beside the mailboxes, a yellow notice is curled at the corners. Heating maintenance, temporary interruption, apartment numbers in small print. A pen hangs from a string, though no one has used it for months. Marina checks her own mailbox, empty except for a supermarket flyer that has arrived late. Apples in bright red ink. Tomatoes too red to believe. She folds the paper once and puts it in her bag. It will be useful for lining a shelf or catching potato peelings. At the entrance, she places one mittened hand on the inner door and waits. You do not open both doors at once if you can avoid it. The entryway is a small chamber. One door closes, then the other opens. It is not much, but in January, not much is still something. For a few seconds, she stands between the two doors. Behind her is the building. Kitchens, pipes, sleeping rooms, someone boiling water. In front of her is the morning. The chamber is not warm, but it is not outside. In January, that makes it a room with a purpose. She lets the inner door close fully before touching the outer handle. The cold arrives first. It presses into her face, sharp and dry. For a second, the wind removes the smaller sounds. Then the city comes back in pieces. A bus beyond the block, a truck reversing, a metal gate shifting in the dark. Marina pulls her hood forward, flexes her fingers inside the mittens, and presses the shop keys deeper into the right pocket. Then she steps out. The door closes heavily behind her. Now there is no warm stairwell, no radio, no tea glass, no ticking radiator. There is the path to the shop, a line of streetlights in the dark morning spread over the apartment blocks. Under the snow is a city with a difficult memory. Vorkuta's name belongs to coal, but also to prisoners who worked in the mines and built in the cold before the city became a place of families, schools, shops, and morning errands. Marina does not make speeches about this, but she knows the old stories, numbers instead of names, barracks beyond the town, and people who stayed after freedom because their hands, their skills, and sometimes their families had already been tied to this place. Her mother had a rule about such things. Do not ask quickly. Some memories in Vorkuta were carried like hot tea in a thin glass. You held them with both hands, carefully, and did not make anyone spill. Marina walks with the careful rhythm of people who know winter by memory. Heel, flat foot, wait. Heel, flat foot, wait. The shop is 7 minutes away in good weather. This morning it takes 12. The city is not empty. It is only quiet in the way a working city is quiet before everyone has fully arrived. There are people going to early shifts with shoulders raised and bags pressed close. There are buses lit from within, windows glowing with breath and frost. There are apartment windows, each one a small square of private warmth. Later histories often count output, dates, plans, and disasters. The people at the bus stop know a different history too. Which shop opens early? Which entrance door sticks? Which driver waits an extra second when the road is ice? She has heard the work described in pieces. Warm underwear under mine clothes, helmet, boots, lamp, a heavy breathing box carried in case smoke comes. The long way down, then farther through the dark before the actual work begins. Men mention these things as if mentioning buttons or bus tickets. That is one way dangerous work enters ordinary life. An underground shift is not only underground. It rearranges kitchens, sleep, laundry, bus stops, birthdays, and the hour a wife starts listening for the key in the door. The mind has a calendar of its own, and the city learns to live around it. Marina passes a bus stop where 3 people stand without speaking. One looks down at a phone. One holds a cloth bag against her chest. One turns his back to the wind. The shelter has a roof, but snow has found its way inside anyway. No one complains. Complaint is not forbidden here. It is simply inefficient before breakfast. The sidewalk has been cleared, filled again, then walked into a hard, uneven path. At the curb, snow is stacked in dirty walls. Marina looks down as she walks. In summer, a person looks ahead. In winter, a person reads the ground. Packed snow is safe enough. Powder may hide ice. Dark shine means slow down. Fresh tire tracks can become ankle traps. Near the doorway, the snow is loose and gray from boots. Near the curb, it has been pressed into ridges by tires. A smooth place shines faintly, and Marina steps around it. This is not caution as a mood. It is literacy. The ground has written the morning in ice, powder, grit, and dark polish. The wind pushes from the left. She adjusts without thinking. The cloth bag bumps against her leg. Inside, the potatoes knock softly against the egg. At the corner, she passes a kiosk that is not opened yet. Its metal shutter is white with frost around the edges. A poster has faded to pale blue, smiling into a summer that is not available this morning. Across the street, a man scrapes ice from the windshield of a small car. He does not clear all of it, only a square in front of his eyes, a smaller square on the side, and a place for the wipers. Marina knows him by sight. He sometimes buys cigarettes and sunflower seeds. She does not know his name. In the shop, many people live in this middle category, known by purchase, by coat, by limp, but not by name. After a shift, miners often buy quietly. Cigarettes, bread, something sweet for a child, sometimes soap, sometimes only tea. The coal dust is not always visible. It can be under the nails, in the crease of a jacket, in the tired care with which a man places coins on the counter one by one. She reaches the row of shops beneath the apartment block. There is a pharmacy, a hairdresser with a poster of impossible hair, a repair office for phones and small appliances, and Marina's grocery. The front windows are filmed with frost from the inside, pale feathers branching across the glass. Above the door, the sign is half lit. One tube has been weak since November. Small shops like this do not appear in the grand story first. They arrive later when a settlement has become a life, when miners have families, when children need sweets after school, when old people need milk without crossing half the city. Marina takes the keys from the right pocket. The first lock is stiff. She breathes into her glove, not because it helps much, but because it is something to do while metal remembers how to move. The key turns. The first door opens, then the second. The room inside is colder than it should be, but not dangerously cold. The refrigerators hum. This is the first good sign of the day. She steps inside, pulls the door closed quickly, and stands still while her eyes adjust. Inside the shop, the darkness is not complete. The dairy case gives off a weak, greenish light. The freezer lid holds a dull reflection of the front window. Cardboard has softened near the counter from yesterday's meltwater. Marina does not need full light to know the room. She knows where the broom leans. She knows the counter edge by touch. She knows the narrow place near the freezer where a box must not be left. She removes the thick mittens but keeps the thin gloves on. Before the lights, there are small jobs. The floor mat must be kicked flat. The delivery space must be cleared. The coin tray must be checked again, even though she already knows what it will say. The bread shelves wait empty at the front of the room. Later, customers will touch the bags lightly through their gloves, checking for softness. For now, the shelves are only shelves. Marina turns on the first switch, fluorescent white over the bread, then the warmer bulb over the counter, then the narrow strip above the freezer, where dumplings and fish sleep under plastic frost. The shop becomes itself slowly, not all at once. A refrigerator hum, a shelf label, a broom against the wall, a lock behind the counter, a square of light on the floor where the first customer will stand. Outside, the morning is still dark. Inside, Marina takes the folded paper from her pocket, smooths it on the counter, and reads the list again. Bread, milk, eggs, change. The day hasn't begun in any large way, but the door is closed, the lights are on, and the room is ready to be useful.